Hello and good morning. Welcome to today's webcast, Real Estate Modeling with Anaplan. We're excited to have you with us, and we're going to jump right in. My name is John Miller, and I'm a business intelligence and analytics consultant at Thoroughgood. I'm speaking to you today remotely from Philadelphia, and I'm joined by my colleague Sarah Deal. Just a quick overview of the presentation today. We're going to start with an intro to Thoroughgood, then transition to some insights on the current state of commercial real estate. From there, we'll lay out our approach to modern real estate planning and introduce Anaplan. We've included a brief demo in Anaplan, so we'll take some time to walk through that scenario and explain some of the relevant business insights that were based off of our experiences implementing these solutions for a Fortune 100 company. After that, we'll add some final thoughts and wrap up the session. So Thoroughgood is an independent global professional services firm specializing in business intelligence and analytics, strategies, solutions, and services with a keen focus on our customers. We're a global company with offices in Boston, Philadelphia, London, Singapore, Bangalore, and Sao Paulo, so we pretty much span the entire globe. We strategically recruit and train consultants to blend a business-focused approach with their strong technical aptitude and understanding of available tools. We offer a full range of BI and analytics services, including strategy and roadmaps, requirements, design, implementation, and training and support. So we completely cover the entire product lifecycle. Here is just a small sampling of customers we serve across a variety of industries. These are typically from very data-rich sectors, but today's webcast can really apply to any company with corporate real estate. As I mentioned, we are an independent consulting firm, meaning we're not tied to any one specific technology. We do, however, work and partner with many of the key players in the market to provide our clients with the solution that best fits their needs. We have experience working across a number of front-end reporting advanced analytics tools, as well as back-end data engineering tools. Working with numerous technologies in the industry allows us to use the appropriate tools to the best effect for any given situation. For this webcast, our focus will be on Anaplan, as it is really well designed for planning and forecasting. So first, I want to take a few minutes to talk about the current state of commercial real estate in the COVID-19 world. It's no surprise that there have been drastic and constant disruptions to essentially every aspect of how we work and where we work over the past few months. One of the most pressing questions that businesses are now facing is how these disruptions are affecting the demand for real estate. So here's an interesting quote from a McKinsey report. As many across the world have experienced firsthand, the pandemic has completely altered traditional ways of working. With more people working from home, with more kids learning from home, companies need to be thinking about the logistics of their workforce in a completely new way. Where are their employees going to work? How can we maintain a collaborative working environment if everyone's remote? When can we bring our employees back to the office? Do we even actually need to bring our employees back to the office? All good questions, and for trying to better understand that, PwC pulled 120 U.S. executives in early May to see the breakdown of how many employees would be working remotely. It's clear to see that the majority of office employees are likely to remain working from home at least for one day a week after businesses are able to resume in-person operations. From the same study, executives were asked to estimate their office space needs in 3 years. While 30% believe space needs would decrease as they anticipate more remote work, others think that space could remain the same or even increase, potentially due to the need for larger workspaces to allow for social distancing, or just a general growth of the company. I did want to point out that 19% anticipate their total office space needs to remain the same, leaving 81% of executives expecting a change, which underlines how impactful COVID-19 has been. Regardless of what direction they think it will move, it's important to understand and have the appropriate planning tool to make informed decisions. And even if the amount of space stays the same, they'll need to fundamentally reevaluate how the space is used in the context of a disruptor like COVID. So we're well into pandemic life, and we're seeing companies of all sizes across all industries take rather drastic steps in altering their working environment. REI Co-op is planning on selling its newly constructed corporate campus in Washington State, citing the events of 2020 as a catalyst for reevaluating where and how they work. They're going to be embracing multiple satellite offices, and remote work there has become even more normalized and embraced. Twitter told employees that they can work from home indefinitely, and Zillow is also telling employees that they can work from home. These are just a few examples of companies modifying the way they work, but I'm sure that the majority of organizations, maybe even your company, are having the same internal discussions and trying to model what makes the most sense for them and their employees. It's pretty clear that we're seeing some major disruptions in workplace trends, so the logical next step is for companies to reevaluate their office space and real estate needs. The unpredictable nature of the pandemic and the economic fallout from it call for a new approach to how businesses plan their real estate resources. Before we look more closely at this modeling, it's important to understand why we need to model so diligently and what some of the benefits are from a robust real estate model. First, we have savings. So a major piece of modeling is that it allows you to forecast expenses for given scenarios, making it easier for businesses to identify areas for savings and choose a scenario that works best within their budget. Then we have safety. After the current pandemic, this is now something that should be considered while modeling, and that maybe wasn't considered that much previously. The number one priority for sending workers back to the office is health and safety, and modeling different scenarios allows for us to control the density of offices to allow for a safe environment for employees. For compliance, beyond just the COVID-19 compliance of state guidelines on gathering sizes, data security compliance is more important than ever. Choosing a tool like Anaplan would make sure that your data is being securely managed. Efficiency. People should be spending less time on building these one-off analyses and more time analyzing different scenarios. With a robust model, analysts can change different parameters easily to compare different outcomes with their reusable models. Then we have data quality. Having a single source of truth and a master data management plan are key factors for rapidly making decisions. Anaplan allows multiple users to work on the same project without having to worry about version control, which is especially important now that most people are working remotely. And then we have resiliency. Building resiliency in your model can minimize disruptions to productivity and general operation of the business. Replanning requires a lot of moving parts, so having the ability to continually update your model to adjust to changing external factors keeps your analysis accurate. So now we know why a robust real estate model is important. So the next question is, how do we actually achieve such a model? So we've identified 4 key tenets to incorporate in any real estate planning models, especially in the age of COVID-19. So resiliency, agility, accessibility, and accountability. These 4 tenets are important to consider when creating your model. Using a tool like Anaplan provides a framework for you to build out your model with these key tenets in mind. So in summary, the current global situation has necessitated a dynamic real estate planning model. This model must withstand rapid and drastic changing assumptions and dependencies with the flexibilities to optimize multiple scenarios in an intuitive, accessible format. This still begs the question of how. To explain this in more detail, I'll now hand it over to my colleague Sarah, who will provide an introduction to Anaplan, and then a demo reflective of some of our work with clients.
So as John mentioned before, it is imperative for businesses to have dynamic planning models that are well equipped to respond to the rapidly changing world that we now live in. We have seen throughout various industries that while companies are able to adjust to changes in the work environment, what is lacking for some is a dynamic and user-friendly platform to model for various scenarios and their overall impact on the business. While there are a host of tools and technologies out there that allow for such a platform, Anaplan is one of the best we have seen for this use case. If you're unfamiliar with Anaplan, Anaplan is a cloud-based modeling and planning software as a service tool. It is often used for a wide range of modeling solutions across many business areas. There are a few areas that set Anaplan apart from other tools. As I said before, Anaplan is a software as a service tool and is completely on the cloud. You can access it in your browser and have multiple different people using it at one time. Without this, you lose the ability to quickly input the details relating to your lease in parallel with others and enables one source of truth. Anaplan is dynamic in the sense that you can easily make updates and assign tasks to members of your organization. The intuitive UX allows even the most beginner users to seamlessly enter in their information and navigate the platform with ease. You can create quick and intuitive visuals on the platform and flexible, dynamic calculations, ideal for in-depth modeling and scenario planning. Now that you know a bit more about Anaplan in general, and why it's a good tool for this type of modeling, I will talk through a case study and then jump over to Anaplan and show you an example of the tool in action. So for the purposes of today's demo, let's say that I'm a regional real estate manager responsible for managing my company's Pennsylvania area leases and deciding on how to handle upcoming lease expirations. In order to do so, the company needed a tool to handle inputting multiple different options for each location and model the financial impact associated with them. Within my organization, there are multiple groups of planners. We would have lease planners, construction planners, and space planners who input the information about each project into Anaplan, which will help me decide on the best option to choose. We have 2 upcoming expirations in the Pennsylvania region, one in Philadelphia and one in Conshohocken. The company, like many others, has recently been impacted by COVID-19, and all employees have been successfully working remotely from home for the past few months. The company has surveyed employees and found mixed results on returning to the office. They would like me to review the financial impact of each leasing option and decide which one is best. For this example, there are 2 project locations, Philadelphia and Conshohocken. In each location, we have 3 different options for what we can do with the space with our upcoming lease end date approaching. In Philadelphia, we can expand the space to allow for more room and space between desks so people can return back to a safe work environment. We can consolidate some space and move half of the office employees to work remotely, or we can renew the lease as is and remain in the same space. For Conshohocken, we can either consolidate the space, expand the space, or move to full working remotely and close the space entirely at the end of the lease. So now I'll flip over to Anaplan and show you how this might work. So here in Anaplan, I can go to this first screen, Create New Project. Here as the project manager, I would enter in the name of a new project, and then can move on to New Project Setup, where I can enter in the specific details about this project. So for example, me as the regional manager, I would input a project for Philadelphia and then enter in project details here. I would have project creator, which is myself, project type, we're leasing the space, and then can enter in any other details about the project, including the space planner information where people would go in and enter that. So for each of the different planners, we can enter them in here and assign specific tasks to these people so they know what they need to update. We can also have it dynamically set so they receive an email once their names are selected here, and include a time frame of when these people need to get the planning completed by. We can also enter in the date, currency, and whatever business unit this could be related to for the purposes of the demo. We can also add in different information here. So we have the project list, and then we can also see the scenario details here. So again, for the Philadelphia office, we have consolidating, expanding, or remaining in the existing lease. For the Conshohocken office, we would have consolidating, expanding, or just remove completely remote. Next, I can go to the lease setup. So this is where the lease planners would come in and enter in all the information about the lease. So for location 1 in Philadelphia, we have the 3 options here, consolidate, expand, remain, and then location 2, which is the Conshohocken location, we have the 3 options here as well. What's really cool about Anaplan is the space planner can come in here and enter in all the information that they've gathered about the lease and their specific projects, and this will then go into the model and we can see how this will impact us financially over the course of this lease. We can add in information such as the commencement dates, end dates, discount percentages, any escalations, as well as any related costs as well, such as operating costs, tax costs, utilities, and even improvement costs. If there's some sort of improvement that can be done in the space, we can add that in here as well. Another thing that's pretty cool about Anaplan is anyone can really come in here and do anything. So this is really the only one source of truth. Any changes that are made here are going to flow through to the model, and this is the only place where people can make these changes. So as the manager here, when I'm going through to review these things, say I notice an example that the future square feet here is 6,000, but it actually is supposed to be 7,000, I can quickly enter in 7,000, and we can see this update, and then that will flow through and change the model as well. So there's not multiple different versions of this lease floating around with different square footages in there as well. Similar to the lease setup, we can move on to construction setup, and pretty similar again, this is just where the construction space planners would go and enter any information that would then flow through to the model relating to this lease. So we'd be able to add in any costs, any assumptions, and then be able to see the total full cost down here at the bottom for just construction related activities. Next, which one is This one is pretty cool. We can move on to the location comparison. So here we can see that for location 1, the Philadelphia office, we can see what the 3 different projects are and how their financial impact would be over time. So here for location 1, we can see that you can quickly get a sense of the difference in costs over the life of your lease for each of the scenarios. So for location 1, you can see this is definitely going to be the lowest here, scenario 1, which was consolidate. And then you can see the difference in price for the other 2 over the life of the rest of the lease. For location 2, you can easily see that for scenario 1, it's actually going to be one of the higher costs overall, and then scenario 2 and 3 are actually significantly cheaper. Scenario 3 is the one that was moved to fully remote, so something that's interesting here is you can quickly see that over the life of this lease, when it ends in FY25, it's going to be actually a significantly lower cost over its lifetime than the other 2 scenarios as well. So here you can quickly just see what the impact is going to be financially, but again, there's other things that you might want to take into consideration when just deciding on one of these. You wouldn't necessarily just pick the one that is the cheapest cost. You might want to take into account other things such as employee satisfaction and what it actually might take for moving fully remote in this office. And then lastly here, we can get a sense of the financial impact. So if you're not interested in looking at just the graphical view, you can move on to just a quick table where you can see the actual numbers for each financial year over the life of your lease. So for location 1, this was Philadelphia. We can see that for scenario 3, this is going to be the financial impact, and then you can also move between the different scenarios to see what the different costs would be over time. So this is definitely helpful. You'll be able to see the total cost and then any specific costs as well, such as existing rent, so the rent that we have currently, and then how it would change with new rent when you're either expanding, consolidating, or if you're staying in your same location as well. You can see how that will just change quickly over time here. So this is just one example really of what Anaplan can do. There are tons of different ways that you can use Anaplan, and these are also just a couple different examples of how you can actually use this for real estate modeling. You can also add in things here such as floor plans and different aspects of the buildings that you can have on here, which I didn't show you today, but would definitely be interesting to see as well. So this is not the only way that you can view things like this, but just a mere example. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any additional questions or any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to John or myself. Thanks.